Explosions thundered across Iran's capital as Israel claimed it was attacking the country. People in Tehran awoke to the sound of the attack, and state television acknowledged the blast. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz announced a special situation in Israel over Israel attacking Iran. He said schools would be closed in the country on Friday. There was no immediate word on what was struck. Israel's prime minister posted a video on social media both confirming and justifying the strikes.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival. 80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazi regime. Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear Holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal.
Our correspondent is in Tel Aviv right now and provided an update for us as the attack took place and as warning notices were sent out across Israel.
Hi, my name is Adam Zivo. I'm reporting live from Tel Aviv, where it's currently 4 a.m. and where citizens throughout the city have just received an emergency alert about an hour ago, warning them to be prepared and to enter the bomb shelters on short notice. The warning was issued in response to Israel's attack on Iran. So Israel has just launched a series of large-scale missile strikes throughout Iran. Apparently there are videos of parts of Tehran burning, and this is in response to Iran's rejection of a nuclear deal, which would thwart the Iranian nuclear program. So it seems that Israel has decided to preemptively attack Iran to ensure that the Iranians don't get nuclear weapons and eventually obliterate Israel. So as of now, this is slightly unprecedented. These kinds of emergency alerts are not issued often, based on conversations with other people in this building who are native Israelis. The last time they received an emergency alert of this sort was when Iran launched a massive ballistic missile strike upon Israel late last year. Everyone seems to understand to some level that this is a game changer and that a large war is imminent. This direct confrontation in Iran is certainly an escalation in tensions in the region. There were rumors that this war was going to begin for the past several days. For example, GPS did not work properly in some areas of South Israel. There was increased police presence there. And then on top of that, the United States prepared to evacuate some of its staff in its embassy in Iraq. Moves like this suggested that something big was going to happen. There was speculation that Israel was going to attack Iran. That speculation turned out to be correct. As of now, it seems, at least in my building, everyone has returned to bed. They are waiting for when they get the signal to go to the bomb shelter. It seems like people are trying to get some shut-eye before that because, once again, it is 4 a.m. Two women who I just interviewed said that they do not feel particularly unsafe right now because they have trust in the Iron Dome to shoot down whatever Iran sends their way. Now, for context, when Iran last launched a massive strike against Israel, which once again was late last year, most of that was shot down. If I recall correctly, only one person in Israel was killed from those strikes, and that person happened to be a Palestinian or an Arab Israeli, which is rather ironic. And so given the history of success with the Iron Dome, people don't seem overly stressed, but of course they are somewhat cautious. So the bomb shelters were full about half an hour ago. Everyone has now gone back to bed. The situation is still developing, and we will see what happens as things move forward. Once again, I'm Adam Zivo, reporting live from Tel Aviv in Israel. Thanks for joining.
Our news director, David Clement, now joins us to further unpack what we know about Israel's attack on Iran's nuclear and missile sites. David, what do we know about what Israel targeted and how they managed to carry this out?
Yeah, so the main focus of the attack was primarily twofold. One, to dismantle Iran's nuclear infrastructure, and so those are sites across the country, from Tehran and the capital outward. So destroying the facilities specifically involved in nuclear enrichment. The second part was taking out the high-ranking members of the IRGC, the Iranian military, and senior nuclear scientists. So essentially trying to not only just hit the infrastructure, but the people responsible for potentially mobilizing and weaponizing it. How they did it is rather remarkable in terms of the logistics. So it's been disclosed to the press that Mossad, which is Israel's spy agency, had teams on the ground to take out surface to air missile defense systems. They had vehicles loaded with drones, very similar to what we saw in Ukraine, that could launch drones to further assist those efforts. And they even so much as had a drone facility inside Iran, so inside the borders of Iran, to carry this out. So from a military and intelligence perspective, it is not completely unprecedented, but it's certainly up there, and it certainly is up there with the likes of the pager bombing against Hezbollah.
And what about U.S. involvement? What do we know about whether or not the U.S. was involved in this? I know Marco Rubio posted on social media yesterday saying that the U.S. had nothing to do with it, but is that fully the truth?
Well, yeah, you are right. Marco Rubio did say that the U.S. was not involved. According to Axios this morning, the U.S. was involved and had given the green light. And their reporting states that a lot of the conversations were essentially a smokescreen to assure the Iranians that this wasn't going to happen, and to ensure that the senior leadership of Iran didn't go into hiding in preparation for what was coming. And so you have conflicting reports. We know that the president has since said that the attacks were excellent. He has said that if Iran doesn't come back to the table to make a deal, that the attacks will be more brutal. So that seems to at least be some level of acknowledgement from the Trump administration for support. Of course, the United States, beyond the potential for escalation in the region, would generally be in favor of preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. That was the goal of the potential nuclear talks that were happening between the United States and Iran. And so there are conflicting reports, but increasingly it does look like the U.S. was involved.
But with these conflicting reports, why would Marco Rubio come out and say, no, we had nothing to do with it, to then the following morning have U.S. officials say, yeah, actually, we did play a part in this? Why was this not planned out a little bit better from the U.S. perspective?
Yeah, that is a good question. Why the conflicting reports? I'm not sure. I would say it would largely come down to wanting to protect U.S. military assets in the region, and not have the Iranian military or Iranian missile systems target U.S. forces and U.S. bases in the region, which may be easier to hit than Israel, as Adam alluded to in his clip, in terms of the comfortability of the Iron Dome. Those military bases, while they have the capacity to shoot down some missiles, are nowhere nearly as sophisticated as the Iron Dome. And so you could, in theory, have had a situation where the Iranians could have retaliated against U.S. forces and U.S. bases in the region, because they would be more vulnerable than, let's say, trying to hit Tel Aviv or any other Israeli city.
Now, we do have a minute before we have to go to break, but Iran was close, about 10 days away from having a nuclear bomb. Is there for sure evidence to this, or is this all just speculation right now?
Well, in some senses, it's speculation because that's intelligence information and it's largely classified. I had a conversation months and months ago, with former intelligence officers in Israel. They said that they were about a month away. But you have to look at the comments of senior members of the Iranian government and the military who've said that it could be a matter of flicking a switch, or a matter of a week. And so the question is, if you're Israel, you have a regime that says they want to wipe Israel off the face of the map. Do you take the kind of offhand comments of their officials at face value and take it
David,
seriously, where they
sorry,
could
I
be
do I
momentarily
do just
away?
have to interrupt you. We are going to go to break, but we'll pick up this conversation right when we get back. Stay with us. Forum Daily News will be right back after these messages. I'm joined by our news director, David Clement, and we're unpacking Israel's attack on Iran yesterday. So, what has the international response been, and the response from politicians to what has happened?
It's been a mixed bag. So Anita Anand issued a statement, pushing for de-escalation. Pierre Poilievre, in contrast, as would mirror his previous comments on this. Previously, he had said that if Israel takes out Iran's nuclear capability, it would be a gift to the world. He's come out far more supportive. The Irish have come out against. The French have come out with kind of soft support, realizing the value of a denuclearized Iran. So it's a bit of a mixed bag internationally in terms of where countries are lining up.
Now, there has been a lot of talk now about potential unrest in Iran, given the unpopularity of the regime. How could that develop?
Well, it's interesting. We've seen all sorts of graffiti on the streets of Tehran, from Iranians basically writing, Israel, you hit them, we'll take care of the rest. Because it's important for viewers to understand that for anyone really, or for most people, most Iranians under the age of 45, this has been a terrible regime to live under. There is a tremendous amount of pressure for reform, for democratic reform, to get rid of the Ayatollah and the mullahs and the kind of Islamic theocracy that has ruled since the revolution. And it's unclear what will happen next, if this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. But there is a possibility here that this could open the door for almost like an Arab Spring type revolution, where this is the signal given to the people of Iran that this government's the time left for this government is nearing completion, and it's time for them to kind of take it back from the oppressive regime that has ruled over them for so long.
Well, David, thank you so much for the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.